What does the longest conveyor belt in the world, and what some people are calling a Moroccan Palestine, have to do with your salad tomatoes?
Everyone who can speak up must do everything in their power to learn more about the situation.
And what lessons can we learn from one refugee growing their own tomatoes in the middle of the Sahara Desert?
We're currently growing vegetables in the camps. I can't begin to explain how much we struggle with water.
Morocco and Western Sahara are at the heart of a global phosphate empire, holding more than 70% of the world's reserves. Phosphate is used to produce phosphorus, one of the key components in industrial fertiliser, and planet Earth only has so much of it left. But why should we care? There's a lot to unpack here, so let's get into it. Morocco and Western Sahara produce 38 million metric tons of phosphate rock a year. Unlike nitrogen, also critical to plant production, phosphate is a finite resource, and there's no way to manufacture it. At current rates, reserves will be depleted in the next 50 to 100 years. The demand for fertiliser is on the rise, partly due to demand from an increasingly developed sub-Saharan Africa, but also due to changes in what we eat. While people are consuming less meat in places like the US, Europe and Australia, Southeast Asia and China are seeing skyrocketing rates. More livestock means more fodder, and more fodder means a lot more fertiliser. This is the longest conveyor belt in the world, serving one of the largest phosphate deposits on the planet, and it belongs to the Bokra mine in Western Sahara. Spanning almost 100 kilometres, it transports phosphate from the mine to the coastal town of Al Masa near Laayoune. From there, it's shipped as far as the US, India, Bangladesh and New Zealand, and plays a critical role in supplying the world's farmlands. Behind this global supply chain is the OCP Group, a state-owned Moroccan company founded in 1920. Over the last century, OCP has grown into the world's largest producer of phosphate-based products. In 2024, the OCP announced a 38% increase in profits with a turnover of over 4 billion euros. The mine was set up in 1972 by Spain when the territory was known as Spanish Sahara. A number of Spanish companies are still operating throughout the phosphorus industry, including lobbying services that help to justify the trade. The UK alone imports around 174,000 tonnes of phosphorus annually. Much of these imports derived from phosphate rock from countries like Russia and China. But with supply routes to these countries disrupted, as well as the ongoing war in Ukraine, the demand for Morocco-sourced phosphate has never been higher. A Spanish colony until 1975, the Western Saharan territory is controlled by Morocco, who view it as their ancestral land dating back to pre-colonial times, and refer to it as their southern provinces. But not everybody sees it that way.
I'm sure from Morocco's point of view, it's a question of getting back what they had considered their old big empire. But of course, in the modern context, phosphate is an immediate one, and if Morocco were to have the phosphate deposits along with what it has, it probably will have the largest deposits of any in the whole world.
Currently, it's estimated that up to 10% of all of Morocco's phosphate is sourced from Western Sahara. When Spain pulled out of the territory in 1975, the indigenous Sahrawis were caught in the crossfire. Morocco and Mauritania both wanted control, each staking their claim. The International Court of Justice weighed in and backed the Sahrawis' right to a referendum, something Spain had promised them back in 1974. But things didn't go that way. Mauritania backed off and Morocco stepped in, beginning its current and often violent occupation. Between 1975 and 1991, thousands of Sahrawis fled to Algeria as Morocco consolidated control, taking refuge and waiting for a UN-backed referendum that would let them decide their future. But that referendum never happened. Now, 50 years later, it's estimated around 175,000 Sahrawis are still stuck in refugee camps in the southwest Algerian desert, waiting for justice. Meanwhile, ongoing and escalating violations of human rights in Western Sahara are in dire need of international media attention.
You end up being very furious and very kind of ashamed of what we created there. When I say we, I mean many countries, especially England, France, United States, Spain, and Morocco.
Access to fresh fruit and vegetables at the camps is a daily struggle. Food insecurity is high, with many households facing malnutrition. But in one of the camps, a group of Sahrawi farmers led by one woman is defying the odds and cultivating crops with minimal resources. 4 years ago, FATIMATOU Bashir launched Growing Hope, a community project aimed at cultivating vegetables for camp residents.
Hello, my name is FATIMATOU. I'm from Western Sahara refugee camp. We're currently growing vegetables in the camps of Laayoune, and hopefully we're gonna do that in all the refugee camps in the Sahara someday.
How did it start, the Growing project, and why, most importantly?
Actually, it didn't start as a project at all. It started like a personal interest. I didn't have a job at the time. I had my older daughter, and I was pregnant with my second daughter, and I was bottom line broke. I didn't have family support or any. We live in a camp, so no one is better than other, by far. I always had the support of my friends in England, Andy and Katie and Mel. So Andy said, "We're gonna do this. We can help you. Obviously, I'm not gonna be working alone, so I'm gonna be helping others, providing more work opportunity for people like me. I mean, it's vegetables in the middle of the desert, so it's gonna help everyone else."
Hello everyone, this is December 10th, and this is how the project is today.
These Sahrawi farmers are showing us the other side of the coin, growing and consuming food locally, not for profit, and all in the middle of the desert. Helped along by the Western Sahara Support Group, the project can now sell produce at affordable prices, reinvesting profits to expand with more greenhouses. They also donate fresh vegetables to children, pregnant women, and nursing mothers.
I have chronic anemia, and whenever I get pregnant, it gets worse. We were thinking about other pregnant women like me, having a better diet, having better health. So this is how it started. Like, I can't begin to explain how much we struggle with water. We have like a quantity, it's given by the government, and it's given every 3 months. Our water, it's not clean because it's kept in plastic containers for 3 months. We are in the desert, so it's really hot. So plastic with the heat, with water. So it's a mess. That's when we thought about building the well.
In 2022, they found a 16-acre site at the Laayoune camp, which amazingly contained 3 abandoned wells that had been filled for safety. By summer, they reopened one, made it safe, and finally had enough water. Thanks to the well, they are, at last, able to take a big step towards self-sufficiency.
So my dad told me that there were plots of land that in the 80s they built wells there. It's a different camp from where I live. It's 60 kilometers from where I live. So we went there.
Some of the water is going to this winter planting.
And then we start this big thing, which is reinstalling the well. It's like digging it all again, but it's already there. Growing Hope organization is a truly non-profit organization from the people who send the funding to the refugees directly. I'd really love for people to come and see for themselves if it's possible. If it's not possible, they can support us financially or even just with sharing about our project. They're going to see the progress without their coming, because there are other people coming each year for everyone else to see.
We are thinking to come and visit.
I'd love to have you.
As the world population continues to rise, so does the demand for cheap and readily available food. Our reliance on fertilisers, driven by industrial farming, has made phosphate a critical global resource. For Sahrawis, phosphate mining in Western Sahara is a deeply contentious subject, serving only to deepen their sense of injustice, displacement, and generational wounds.
The failure of the international institutions, the continuous failures of them to ensure accountability is what is giving occupational powers like Morocco the impunity and legitimization of continuing extracting and plundering natural resources and suffocating the Sahrawi people.
But our reliance on phosphates here at home has a dark side too. The overuse of fertilisers leads to major environmental problems, wreaking havoc with our soil, polluting waterways, and degrading ecosystems. Unless we implement a coherent plan for managing phosphorus across the food system, we're headed for biodiversity loss, food scarcity, and increased dependence on food imports. Spain and France, who've both officially recognised Morocco's claim to Western Sahara, alongside Italy, account for over 3/4 of the Union's imports of phosphorus within fertiliser products. The European Union as a whole, however, has not officially recognised Morocco's claim. In 2024, the European Court of Justice ruled that Morocco was in breach of their farm and fisheries agreement, since any produce that comes out of Western Sahara is currently being obtained without the consent of the Sahrawi people. This was a huge win for the Sahrawi, who saw it as further international recognition of their rights. In practical terms, it's still unclear how this ruling will be enforced and what, if anything, will change. Worth bearing in mind next time you're shopping in the fruit and veg aisle. Regardless of where you stand in the debate, we all have the right to know where our food comes from.
So these are from Morocco, but you don't actually know which part of Morocco they're from. Because it could be in occupied territories, so Western Sahara. So tomatoes, again from Morocco, but is it from Western Sahara?
Every bite we take is connected to this story. The fruit and vegetables that we consume year-round is made possible because of aggressive and profit-based mineral extraction. It's causing the displacement of peoples and a weakening of our collective ecosystems. For generations of Sahrawis living as refugees in one of the most inhospitable places on earth, malnutrition is widespread. Our reliance on mass-produced food has created a dependency on industrial fertilizers, and while enterprises all along the supply chain only focus on profit, we have the power to drive change. We can support local produce instead. We can restrict the amount of food we buy that's a direct result of industrial farming. We can question where our food comes from and lobby MPs to discuss conflict mining in Parliament. So, will we keep consuming blindly, or will we demand sustainable solutions, transparency, and justice? The choice is ours.